Opinions expressed are those of the program host and guest and not WSTU. WSTU does not endorse any products mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU.
The Treasure Coast longest-running local talk radio show is on the air. The Treasure Coast Forum. Get interested, get educated, get involved, and give us a call with your opinions at 220-9788. And here's your host of the Treasure Coast Forum.
Hello, happy Thursday, and thanks for tuning in. My name is Noyana Pierre-Lewis, but you can call me No-No, and I'm here today with my co-host,
John.
And you're listening to the Treasure Coast Forum on WSTU 1450, Martin County's Heritage Station. We are both students at Southfork High School here in Martin County, and we're members of the Youth in Government program at our school. Youth in Government is a youth-run, youth-led civics advocacy program that lets students express their voice, and it's also an amazing program that John and I both enjoy very much. Throughout the show, I highly urge you all, especially you, Mr. Bob, Mr. John, and all the you kids out there to call our number, which is 220-WSTU, and I'll say it again for those of you who missed it the first time, 220-9788. All we ask is that you are respectful, since this program is about debating ideas, topics, and news, not people. We would love to hear about what you have to say, since today we have some very interesting topics. So, before we get into anything serious, when I was driving here today, the weather was just absolutely beautiful. Just need to take some time to appreciate it, especially with all the chaos that's going on. So, just wanted to take a second to do that. But I wanted to start off today in honor of one of my super amazing, talented, and kind best friends, whose birthday is tomorrow. Happy birthday, girl. And in honor of you, I am doing a quick true crime segment. So, Netflix recently released a documentary called American Murder, The Family Next Door, which came out on September 30th of this year. So it is fairly new. If you'd like to watch it on your own terms, since some people are rather sensitive to criminal, true crime stories like this. I do personally plan to watch this documentary in the future, since, it sounds very interesting. Spoiler alert, I guess. So, continuing on, it tells the true story of the Watts family killings, which happened back in 2018. The case follows the tragic murder of Shannon Watts, who was pregnant and had two daughters, Bella, who was 4 years old, and Celeste, who was 3. On August 13th, 2018, Shannon Watts' friend, Nicole Atkinson, I apologize, dropped her off at her Frederick, Colorado home following a business trip they had taken together. However, when Nicole tried to get in touch with Shannon later that day, she couldn't reach her. After Shannon missed a hospital appointment, she grew worried and decided to call Chris, who was her boyfriend, or husband at the time, and the police. That afternoon, the police conducted an investigation of the Watts' home, and although they found no signs of foul play, they did find Shannon's car and all of her personal belongings. The next day, Shannon and the girls were officially declared missing, and the Colorado Bureau of Investigation, the CBI, released endangered missing person alerts for them. Initially, Chris denied he knew what had happened and appeared on camera to beg for the safe return of his pregnant wife and his 2 young daughters. However, when the bodies of his family were found, Chris suddenly changed his story. He said that it was Shannon who had killed the girls, and when he found her doing this, he panicked and he killed her. But then he failed a lie detector test and confessed to brutally killing his entire family. Later in 2018, Chris Watts was sentenced to 3 consecutive life sentences without the chance of parole. He pled guilty to the murder of his 34-year-old pregnant wife, Shannon, and their daughters. Whew. Yep.
That's like, I'll probably watch that, to be honest.
Yeah, it sounds good, and I'm personally very invested in criminology and criminal justice, and in my theory of knowledge classes, we were talking about things such as false memories and how, when it comes to our justice system and witnesses and things within the trial court, things can get very misconstrued. As we can see here, he said 3 different lies, and he failed a lie detector test. So it was, I really want to see it when I have the time. So But continuing on, I have a really quick discussion question. So, John, why is it so hard to find good information when it comes to figuring out what is going on in our world? Like, so I have to be honest with the audience and you all here. It's just when I was researching this week's topics, I struggled so much to find reliable information and fact checking everything, and just because most of the websites I used were filled with a whole bunch of ads, and I had to keep clicking, or the cookies messages would pop up. And even on the Washington Post, I was looking up something very important, and then it stopped me in the middle of reading it and said that I had to pay money in order to read something. Like, I understand, these companies got to make their money. I understand that, but what is the price when I need to find out and be an educated individual in today's society, about things? I mean, it's something as simple as looking up what is the scientific name of a black leopard produces the results of the scientific name of an Indian leopard in Google. If you'd like to fact check me, please do it. Go into Google, look up what is the scientific name of a black leopard, and the first response will literally be the scientific name for an Indian leopard. Because that came from true experience from my biology class. But I find it's so hard. Like social media technology. These journalistic organizations and groups, they should be helping us. So what are your thoughts? I just want to hear. Give it all to me.
Like, I kind of agree. Like, I get that they need to make money, but I mean, like, you go on the news, you see like the same thing on like 5 different channels, or like the same thing skewed like 5 different ways. Like, Mr. Trump is good, Mr. Trump's bad, things like that. And then you'll see like, you won't see anything. You'll see like other stuff on like Washington Post or something, but you need to pay access. Like somebody from like this probably didn't happen. Like somebody from the FBI like leaked info or something. You'll see something like absurdly important, but you can't get your hands on it. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Just like, they need to make money and stuff. Like, you go on like any streaming service, there's going to be ads.
Yeah.
But I mean, just like
at a certain cost, Well, that's just how I feel,
And then it usually doesn't become public usually. And it's just like, you give up so much valuable information just for the sake of money. It's like just throwing away. Just yeah.
And then even then it goes down to how valid is the knowledge that we're paying for as well, if we were to purchase. I'm not made out of money. I don't think you're made out of money, but if we were to buy some of from the knowledge that we gain from these journalistic organizations, how true would it be? What biases would be there that may skew it? I mean, because I was talking with a classmate of mine, and he really went off on how almost every single website has a bias, and it's truly within the art of fact checking and using multiple like sources that are reliable to really find the truth and see between the lines. And then you have to do the act of finding, where do your own biases come into play? Where do they line up? And how does that, create a rose-colored glasses when viewing the information that you're trying to find out about? So it was just hard. I was a little bit frustrated. But John, let's move into your first segment.
Okay, actually, there's been an interesting development, like in New Jersey recently, actually. A 26-year-old man named Nicholas, I apologize if I pronounced the last name wrong, Bracci, was arrested, then charged with a court of delay of mail and another charge of being obstruction of mail, all in all resulting in a maximum year of a potential 5 years and 6 months in prison, along with a $250,500 fine. To give some more context, Mr. Baracci has been accused of dumping around 1,900 pieces of mail in 2 dumpsters across New Jersey. These mails have been ranging from personal, like mails like first class mails to send to like relatives and such, to even ballots, which I found pretty absurd. I mean, it's the election, for crying out loud. I mean, just anyways, the person who reported to police was Mr. Howard Dinger. He supposedly found some in a dumpster when he was throwing out his own trash and then reported it to the police. Mr. Birachi is also, from my understanding, from reading up on this subject, is also going to be going to court soon. On a happier note, though, the mail he attempted to throw away was put back into the system and is thankfully being delivered. Though this does raise some interesting questions about ballots, how secure they are. Because I mean, somebody could literally just go up to your mailbox, steal it, and then burn it or something. It's not the safest means, but personally, I don't believe that the postal services will ever be perfect. I mean, it's not even up to them. Your neighbor could take your mail. That happens all the time.
Yes, it does.
Just port stealing and stuff.
Yep.
It's a problem, and you usually can't court them anyways, which is a sad move in anyways. I don't think everybody in the postal service will tamper with everything. Just it will, but I want to believe in the good of people that they won't do it normally. What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm actually surprised to hear this, since I mean, mail is such an important part of our lives, but I mean, we always talk about technology. Things now, it's email. It's a shock to get a postcard or a handwritten letter from somebody, and it almost makes me almost grateful that at least the people who come through my neighborhood are very responsible with their mail. And it sometimes we lose out on that value of what we have. But yeah, the ballots part, that's crazy. That's very important. Voting is very important, so crazy. Anyways, so I found out something very crazy this week. It shocked me. I discussed it with a few of my classmates throughout this week, and I'd like to bring it to light to everybody listening today, because I think this is something very important, and I'd like to bring light to it. So there's a Chinese doctor. Her name is Dr. Li Yang, whose mother was arrested by the Chinese Communist Party. So to give you some background information on this, Dr. Li Yang is a virologist, and she has also studied immunology, which basically she has an extensive background in the field of viruses, medicine, and biology, which is also concerned with immunity as well. And she has carried out this research at the Hong Kong School of Public Health. She states that she was one of the first scientists in the world to study the novel coronavirus, and was allegedly asked by her supervisor at the university, whose name was Dr. Leo Poon, to look into the odd cluster of the SARS-like cases coming out in the mainland of China at the end of December 2019. Yan told Fox News in an exclusive interview that she believes that the Chinese government knew about the novel coronavirus well before it claimed it did. She claims that the Chinese government initially manufactured and released the COVID-19 virus that led to the mass shutdowns and deaths across the world. She asked her supervisors, renowned as some of the top experts in the field, who they ended up ignoring the research that she was doing at the onset of the pandemic, and that she believes that she could have saved lives. Doctors and researchers who have been openly discussing the virus recently just clammed up. Those from the city of Wuhan, which later became the hub of the outbreak, went silent, and others were warned not to ask them details. Dr. Yan fled China to the United States to speak out on the truth of COVID-19. So this all happened, and this all actually broke news in America in July, but it's only recently her mother was arrested, which is so saddening to me, but it also enlightened me a bit, and I had some really deep conversations with my classmates, and things in China are very, very, very different from here, obviously, but I mean, in the case of freedom of expression and opinion and speech, I guess, but this is something that commonly happens. She's not the first person who has to flee from her life for trying to do something that's against the communist agenda and basically what they're planning to do. So back in February, there were actually 2 reporters in Wuhan who had disappeared. According to BBC, these reporters were named Fan Bing and Chen Kuishi, were both determined to share what they could about the crisis that was happening in Wuhan with the outside world at the capital of Hubei province, and sending what they found out basically to the world. They posted videos online, shared pictures and dramatic stories from inside the quarantine city that had been virtually cut off from the country. Um, I I have to be honest. When I was researching, I do not know if these 2 reporters resurfaced back onto the internet. But their name often came up alongside another journalist by the name of Li Zihua, who was also another reporter who went missing, but he did come back a while afterwards. So I mean, this is a common pattern, especially in relation to this whole entire COVID-19, chaos. But it goes back to that lack of freedom of speech in China. And we as Americans within this country, we are so blessed with the right, to express our beliefs, to protest, and to practice what we wish to practice so long as we are not harming another person's life. But what I've seen personally within this nation in these past few years is that there's much intolerance when it comes to what people believe in. I mean, the fact that I've grown and I've had educated discussions with those around me being in the IB program. I feel like the youth and people out there do not have the same opportunity to speak freely with individuals who are open to listen, open to appreciate, and at least understand other people's perspective. And that should not be the case. You should be okay to express what you believe in. Um, we have seen people be hurt because they don't share the same thoughts and opinions as others. Houses, churches are divided over who somebody should vote for, just as an example. When these places should be one of the most open-minded places an individual can have as a sanctuary to be who they are. So, I mean, looking at this poor young woman who has lots of potential, the knowledge she may bring, it may be valuable. I mean, like I stated earlier, she was one of the first people to work on the virus. She has had firsthand experience, and she's worked with top people in the medical field over there, you know. But she's running away from a country where no one can be as loud and as proud as we can be, and it's almost scary to see that it's not the same, but it almost mirrors what is starting to happen within our country, where things are heading. It's almost a terrifying reality to look towards. Intolerance and being able to not respect other people, their ideas, and their truth in a non-violent way is something that I think is increasing day by day. But if you'd like to learn more about this topic, the news sources I used were Fox News, BBC News, Daily Mail, and Reuters. I do suggest that you research this topic and look into what's happening overseas. To just expand your knowledge, since the more you know is better. But John, I'll open up to you now since I've been talking so much. Really quick before we have to wrap it up. But I mean, what do you think about this? How does this all come together? Like, just give it all to me.
Okay, like my first thought is like it's really saddening. I mean, like for example, if somebody like in the US had like top-notch information and then had to flee to like Germany or something just to like spell out that information to the rest of the world, something like the coronavirus information, something that could literally save hundreds of lives instead of like killing them. I mean, just like even the accusations in the article, like China mass producing that, it's like, oh boy, it's just like if it's actually a thing, it's just like, and it's being withheld, it's just like you have to flee the country. I mean, like, just like I'm pretty sure they have like internet censoring ship over there, right?
Yeah. I think you'd have to use like a VPN or even go onto the dark web in order to surpass their restrictions when it comes to internet. It's very deep. So
like kind of like that, kind of just like it saddens me. Just like, for example, just like in the US, like kind of like what you said, we do have our own like biases and such. Just like what you said, like if you go to church or something, you do not want to be flooded with just like, do this or you're basically exiled. It's like, it's just completely saddening. I mean, like, some teachers, like, most teachers try to create their like rooms a safe space, but like, if it can't be a safe space, then what is it? It's like,
Right.
it's
I mean, I remember I had a friend. I was talking to her weeks ago about this, and we were talking about the creation of man. Since within my class, we were talking about the evolution of man. You know, since that's something we all learn in school, evolution. But she was in biology, and she remember saying that she didn't believe in evolution, and a kid yelled at her for it. You know, and and she doesn't believe in it because of her religion, but so I mean, you don't necessarily have to attack somebody for that. I mean, I have friends who are much more science inclined. They are a realist, you know, and I have other friends who are very spiritual and they believe in the supernatural. And but we are all able to come together and share our thoughts. I mean, the conversations that we have, they give me hope. But hearing something like that as well, I mean, I've also had another friend who's absolutely like bashed for saying something on social media, and then they just slammed her bad, calling her idiot, rude names and whatnot. It's just we need to be mindful, and we need to be a lot more open and able to learn. And I think truly that's the only way we can move forward. But anyway, we are now heading into our break, so grab a snack, a drink, chillax for a bit. But don't forget you're listening to WSTU, the Treasure Coast Forum. If you'd like to call in and talk a bit on our number, the number is 220-WSTU. One last time for those of you who missed it, 220-9788. Anyway, stay tuned for what's coming up next, and I shall see you in a bit. Hello, welcome back to the Treasure Coast Forum on WSTU 1450. My name is Noyana, but you can call me Nono, and I'm here with my co-host.
John?
And remember to call in the number, which is 220-WSTU. And one last time, for those of you who have missed it all the many times I've said it before, it is 220-9788. And continuing onwards, John, would you like to share what other news you have for us today?
Okay, starting off on like a more heavier note this segment, I guess, like sadly when I was like researching, I found like an article that was around 150 million people, according to the World Bank, could slip into, as I quote, extreme poverty. And it's the World Bank saying that. I mean, it's like no small organization. It's legit the World Bank. It's just, according to them, supposedly the people that are going to like go into extreme poverty are going to like live on less than $1.90 a day. Just like, yeah, just like really think about what you do daily. Like you eat, you drink, just like everything you do. Maybe you have like a job. Think about like how much you're making. Just like take it into account. Just like how much does that cost? Like your electricity, maybe you use AC. Just like all that. Like I guarantee it's not going to be $1.90. I mean, just it's like it's a real feasible amount for like most of us in the US. And just like it's absurd. Just like that's something on the scale, like 150 million people, not one person, even one. It's not a good thing. I mean, just like even if they're a poor country, we should be working together as a world to not have that. Like I heard a statistic from like one of my friends, like the US can feed people like 3 times over, was it?
I do not know, but in my AP Human Geography class, shout out to all of you guys who have suffered together with me on that. But I remember learning about the difference between a developed country and a developing country. And we watched this TED Talk that showed that, you know, all of the developed countries all together, which means the United States, Europe, Australia, and what other countries feel? I think those are the main three,
Yeah.
the main superpowers. They have enough resources and enough money and technology to definitely boost up the much more developing countries, like countries within Africa, the Middle East, Eastern, like I think South Asia, those countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, and even the Caribbean. So we definitely can. And I remember learning about those differences, but it's more the fact that, there's we don't want to, but
yeah, because
I'd have to do more research on that, but there's definitely that disconnect.
Because like even in the class we learned about things like cheap labor and how like big
Yes.
companies exploit it to an absurd amount that's just horrible. Just like child labor factories and such. Just I want to bring up a point that I was reading in the article. It was like, say you were in extreme poverty and you raised yourself up. Just like you finally have like what we would consider like a quote unquote normal life. You have a job, maybe you work like 5 to 6 or something. Just like a normal job, you get paid like $12 an hour or more, just something like that. You have a house, maybe family, wife. Now, keep in mind our current situation. We're in a pandemic. Just like you can't do work. Like most of the like developing countries, like quite a bit of them stopped. And then with all like our bigger countries such as like America and such, like we have our economy stopped. Just like imagine how that's like harming them. Just like they have to sell things to us just to have like just to survive, and then just like seeing their life savings wash away for all the time that they worked, and then being once again placed into just extreme poverty. Just like not knowing when like your next meal's coming. Like if you have children, like you have to feed them, and it's just like it's just saddening.
No, it is. But as much as no matter how heavy the weight of being, a future maker, especially as the youth, that is why we are here. We are here to change and to bring light to those countries. I mean, I know personally I'm from the small country of Haiti, so it is definitely my goal in the future to, help a lending hand, since I know over there it's 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 it- it's complicated. It's complicated. I do wish to speak about Haiti in the coming future, but it's it's hard. But that's why we're here, and that's why we have these passions, and so let's bring a change, right?
I agree.
Yeah. Anyways, moving on. We are segueing to something else that's related to COVID today. And it all has to do with our notorious President Trump, who had tested positive. So this story, it goes back to my struggle that I admitted to you all earlier in this session, how it was extremely hard to find actual information to come off as non-biased as I could, because this it's a doozy. And I also spoke about this with most of my friends today, especially. And the main question I posed was, what and how did this happen? How did our president test positive? And I mean, looking at it, and I have a small little timeline that I put together. But since early March, both President Trump and Vice President Mike Pence were both exposed to people who did have the virus. But I mean, there are two sides to this, and the two sides are that, number one, Trump was irresponsible, or Trump did take the proper precautions, and this was just, I guess, fate working, I guess. But the first side, so here's what I found. So there's lots of little details sprinkled in between, but I pulled out the biggest points that I could find. And the first one is Trump's rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma on June 20th of this year. So the Trump campaign said that it will have coronavirus protection measures in place, such as temperature checks, sanitizer stations, along with having masks available for those who did attend, but they were not required. Regardless, this rally did cause a lot of concern for the general public. A counter argument that I found, which was very interesting to read, was that though this was stated by two people who did go to this rally in Oklahoma, and their names were Jill and Trish. They were not identified by their last name, but they said, "We didn't hear anything about the coronavirus for 2 weeks while looting and protesting was going on, and none of them were wearing masks." They then go on to state, "And now that Trump is holding a rally, it's all we hear. The hypocrisy is unbelievable." Your opinions? You can call in. The number is 220-WSTU, 220-9788. But to counter this, I did find that, around May, way before this happened, some of the I apologize, some of the precautions that President Trump did take, according to Business Insider, in case you guys would like to fact check me, is that the use for face masks had also become a lot more widespread at that point. And on May 11th, President Trump ordered all West Wing staffers to wear face masks inside of the White House. The White House has also limited the amount of task force members on stage and those who had worked to move press briefings outside. I mean, I also read how these workers within the White House had to be tested multiple times before they could even come in to the White House and be around the president. But then we have the Independence Day rally of this year, where President Trump held a rally at Mount Rushmore, which many public health officials said that can lead to even more outbreaks, because they attract large groups from different places where the virus is spreading much faster. Organizers have said that about 7,500 people are expected to attend. And this was way before this came out. But my family did watch the rally on TV, and as a personal testimony, I guess, to what was happening, it was a massive crowd, and there was no social distancing, and there was no people wearing masks, or if there were, it was very limited. So, yikes. And the last thing is recent, very recent, which has caused all of this to just simply explode in our faces, was the nomination announcement of Amy Coney Barrett. Barrett, I apologize, but at least 11 people who attended the White House event on September 26th have since tested positive for the coronavirus. 8 of them, including the First Lady, sat in the first several rows of a nomination ceremony for Judge Amy Coney Barrett in the White House Rose Garden. There were more than 150 people, most maskless, sitting in the crowd together and glad handing, according to the New York Times. So, what this basically is saying, the fact that this, and I did also, when researching, I saw a whole bunch of pictures, I saw a few videos, a few explanations of what happened, and there was a lot of people there, and barely any of them, and I advise you to go out, fact check what I'm saying, but if you find the photos, I'm completely up to the idea that they may be fabricated, but I don't think so. But I mean, there were live people sitting, no social distancing whatsoever. A few of them were wearing masks. They were within the White House, which is a closed facility. I can at least be forgiving if it's outside, but they were in a closed facility, and there's,
like I
there's
kind of
no
agree
masks, so it's just,
because I mean they're supposed to be leading. I mean, just it's
yeah.
like not trying to be biased. It's kind of a bad
Yeah.
look on the country
No,
just
and
doing that.
I try.
Just like I'm trying
you know?
not to be biased, but I mean it's hard to.
But this is the reason I was struggling because but this it's a little bit complicated. But we have to face the reality here. Not many people within the White House took the proper precautions that needed to be taken in what they've been pushing out on the phone. But before we continue on, we have a caller, and it's Mr. Bob. Hello, how are you doing this fine week?
Oh, great. How you guys doing?
Oh, we are doing so great. I'm so happy you called. What do you have for us today?
I was working with a machine, but I had a little trouble hearing you. You're just now learning about what China did and how they hid it, and the World Health Organization backed them up on the virus?
No, because my dad actually showed me this thing, how the CDC as well, the CDC is a part of it too, apparently, how they changed the numbers for the virus, and it was actually significantly lower. It was, it's a whole mess. But
this is what I was trying to say about Fox News. Now, in the old days, we only had 6 channels when I was a kid, if that. We were all watching Gilligan's Island, the Brady Bunch, and ABC.
Yes.
There was ABC, NBC, and CBS. Well, they started getting bought out by it and moving more to the left. And they used to say a lot of fibs, but I always said, and people are saying a lot now, it's more what they don't say than what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And if you watch Fox News, I have an assignment for you. You'll enjoy this.
Okay.
You kids, you watch Saturday. All you have to do is watch Fox Saturday from 8 o'clock till 11. You have Jesse Waters on there. He's good and he's a hoot. And his mother's a Democrat. She texts him all the time and puts him down while he's on the air. And then you have one you might like, Judge Jeanine Pirro. Do you know her?
I do not. Wait, what's her name? Jeanine Pirro?
Pirro. Judge Jeanine Pirro. She was a judge in New York. You're going to love her because you're into all this law stuff. So, and then at 9 o'clock till 10. So you don't have to watch from 8 till 10. You have Greg Gutfeld, who is a real hoot, and there's people there more your age. He's got a big old African American guy he calls his bodyguard and sidekick. Guy looks like Shrek actually, and the guy's huge, and he's got more people closer to your age, and it's hysterical, and you learn a lot. But you're going to learn watching those 3 hours just this weekend.
Okay,
you're going to learn, and you're going to say, why didn't I hear this on ABC, NBC, CBS, CNN, and MSNBC? Because it's what they don't tell you now that's more dangerous than what they do tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And then another one, if you're ever at home at 5 o'clock, watch The Five. Greg Gutfeld's actually part of that panel.
My father, he loves The Five.
Oh, yeah.
Especially Sean Hannity and Tucker. I really think you guys would be great friends.
No, Sean Hannity and Tucker aren't on The Five. They're on weekdays, but Saturday from 8 till 10, watch from 8 till 10. I'm telling you, you'll enjoy every minute of it, and write down everything you haven't heard from the mainstream media on there. You'll be shocked.
Okay. I'll bring you a perfect A+ crisp essay on all the things I will learn, and I would love to have for you calling in again to tell me even more things to look into.
Okay, I'll call you. I'll be on my way back probably from the Keys, but
okay.
I'll try to give you a call.
But before you go, I have one last question.
Sure.
So what do you think about Trump testing positive? Like, I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Please enlighten me.
He said, I go places, military people hug me, other people hug me. I'm around a lot of people, and hey, it happens. But we knew China. You heard about China, when they had that outbreak in Wuhan, and I never even heard of that damn place, but it's almost 3/4 size of New York City population-wise, I guess. They wouldn't let the planes fly anywhere in China, but they let them fly to Italy and Europe and the United States. So, and that's been out forever. But you might not have heard of that part before too, and it's totally true.
Yeah, it's very disheartening to hear though. But yes, John, do you have anything you'd like to ask?
Not really. I do want to wish Mr. Bob would have a good time in the Keys though.
Oh yes.
Yeah, appreciate a yearly trip. Go down there.
Oh, that's fun.
Usually bring the jet skis, but this time I'm just going to rent a boat.
Oh.
All right, then. Well, thank you so much for your input today. I will have that grade A essay ready for you next Thursday. So,
all your listeners, Saturday, watch Fox News Channel, not Fox News Palm Beach. That's not Fox News Channel. Watch Fox News Channel from 8 till 10 o'clock. You'll enjoy it. You'll laugh. You'll learn.
All right. Thank you so much. Until next week.
You guys have a great weekend.
You
Bye-bye.
too. Stay safe. All right. Well,
that was interesting, I think.
Well, it was. Wait, what? The call or
just not the call, and just the topics in general, I think.
Well, it really is, because it goes down to say, because when I was researching this, I saw a lot of this hypocrisy thing going around. It was just saying how, the government, the White House, the CDC, they push all of this. Okay, follow COVID guidelines. Do this. Wear a mask. Social distance. In school, I have to kind of be discreet on hugging my friend because the staff is going to stare me down. Or teachers get really, and this is within their job. I'm not blaming them. But this is the enforcement that we're doing in order for people to be safe. Teachers, I have to be separated from my friends. Where in the beginning of the year, I sat with my friends really close and whatnot. But we're now a desk apart from each other, and this is in-person school. When I'm in choir, since I'm a singer, I can barely hear my friends when we're singing songs too, since they're so far away, and our teacher is constantly coming out saying, to separate and everything like that. I can't even take off my mask to breathe outside, and it's very limiting. Even when I'm eating lunch, I have to take off my mask, hurry up and eat, and then put my mask back on. My friend it's only 4 people to a table, and my friend was standing beside me, and she was asked to move because she was standing, not even sitting. They're very, very strict on these guidelines, and they should be, and props to them, because it's hard telling children to stay away from the friends they haven't seen in 6 months, half a year. But this is what we have to do in order for our country to get back to where it needs to be. But then you see this happen.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to shift all the blame onto Trump. It's the whole White House. It's been a constant downhill. Everybody's being tested positive for COVID. And so it's what is going wrong here? Why are precautions not being taken, especially if you're in a place of power? I mean, I think it would speak an even bigger message had you demonstrated that you're following these guidelines and you're doing what the necessary steps to take to show that we need to get back in order. It is so itchy wearing these things all the time, you know? And it's like, but this is the world that we're in. But it's okay. It's okay. So we're going to get to that happy place soon. Anyways, for these last few minutes here, John, you shall take it away.
Ooh, okay. So on like a little more happier note, I guess, like besides like the world and such. Yeah. Recently, like I didn't know about this actually. I was like a little bit confused when I first found out about it. Apparently a snow park of all things is opening up in Florida in Dade City. I mean, just like I want you guys to like soak that in. Snow in Florida. I mean, just like snow of all things. I mean, just like we're a hot like tropical climate. I mean, just like snow. Just like okay, I'm procrastinating, I guess. Okay, so like supposedly Florida is going to have a snow park in like Dade City. Like it's supposed like it has like a website and everything. Like I was doing digging, it just like has a website, it has a Facebook, and I was just like, oh my god, it's a thing. Just like anyways, it's supposed to be like 60 feet tall and it's going to be like 400 feet long, like for the tubing hill. Just like that itself. It's just, there's like even a small children hill, like riders can like make snowmen in their like dome. And just like in the evenings, there's supposed to be like light shows and stuff, just like in the dome and on like, just like the snowfield. I was just like, oh my god, just like, it's like kind of like a Disney-esque thing. But I mean, just like, with snow.
Yes, well.
There's like also like I know, I'm sorry, but just like I want to kind of rant a little bit on it.
No,
there's supposed to be like an alpine village where like visitors can like eat. There's going to be like little bonfires and such. So like as they say, like people visiting can have like hot cocoa and stuff and like do that. And it's just like I find it nice that like something like that's going to happen in Florida because I mean like people usually don't go up north. So, like I know some people spend like the entire lives in like the same like county and such. I just find it like amazing. Just like I am a little bit confused though, because it's like you take into account it's not like an ice skating rink. It's like not enclosed. Like from what I saw, like it's not enclosed. It's open field. I was just like, how are they like monitoring the temperature so all the snow doesn't just turn into water? I was like, is there going to be like air conditioners like every 5 feet? And it's just like, who's paying for all this? I was just like how? It's just like, is there something underneath the snow? Just like, what is it? It's just like, you know,
so
just
many
like
questions.
that amount of snow.
Not enough time for answers. Hey, let's call him someday on the radio show. Let's just call him and get some answers.
It'd be fun.
All right, let's try to do it next week. Okay, we'll talk more about it though. All right, but a few thoughts of mine I have is that I'm so happy that's opening up because I always think that snow. I want to live up north, obviously, as you can tell, because I love snow so much. And I think snow has the capability to just make people happy, especially within movies, like growing up as a little girl when you see like the beautiful scene and you have the sunset and the sky's all purple and then kids are catching snowflakes on their tongues. You know, we don't get that in Florida. We get lots of sand and a messy car and sunburns.
Lots of them.
Yeah. So, but it's okay. I think we need that, you know, and I hope there's also an ice skating rink because that would be fun too, but that's a little bit too much to ask for. But yeah, I think that's something we need, you know. So let's really call them. Let's ask some questions, you know, and maybe even sponsor them on here, you know, bringing up some good ideas, you know. So I think that's something that we need. So, I mean, I think also Disney's opened up like a while ago too. Maybe that could rival Disney since you did mention Disney.
Oh, that'd be fun.
Yeah. Yes, it would. Anyways, and now we have come to an end for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's topics. Mr. Bob, thank you so much for calling in today. We greatly appreciated it. Birthday girl, you know who you are. Thank you so much for watching. And my other friend who I did invite to watch today, you know who you are. Thank you so much for watching. Well, we're always here every Thursday from 5 to 6. And remember, you're listening to this Treasure Coast Forum on WSTU 1450. I'm Noyana, and this is my co-host, John. And happy Thursday. Goodbye. Stay safe. Tell somebody you love them or you're grateful for them today. And bye-bye.
Bye.